understanding we don't have any more speakers, but we're going to continue the dialogue. So if I could have Kenny come up and have a seat. Uncle Sunday, if you can come and have a seat with us. And anybody that works in the field that would like to join us for this panel discussion.
Okay. My goodness.
On the spot. I like on the spot.
You look surprised.
So right now we're going to have a panel discussion. Earlier we had Uncle Sunday speak, and then we also had Katrina who talked about immigrant and refugees and addiction. And now we're going to kind of just talk about mental health in general in the immigrant communities. I want to talk a little bit about my experience first, and then we can just go down the line. Are you guys okay with that? So I've been in the field probably roughly about 17 years, and I have worked with people from all communities. I've worked in management and also as a therapist for the last 8 years. And now that I'm at the county with Kenny, we are having a lot of cases where we're going into homes and into schools and working with children that are their parents are refugees. You know, they came here in this country from the war, and so they are trying to continue to have their culture. So if the child is misbehaving, they might get a spanking to the bottom or beat with a foo-foo stick, as the last child told me. And sometimes when it's not a therapist that looks like me, that's when we have issues with child protection, and we have all these other entities coming in telling us how to raise our children. So I think it's important for me as an ally to people from the African community and also African American. I want to know how I can better educate myself or get the experience that I need so I can better serve these families. Just for an example, 2 weeks ago, I was out on how to have seizures. Her mother was taking her to see herbalists, and people were praying over her. And because the seizure disorder continued, she was told that she was of witchcraft. She was a voodoo. She was told that there was no hope for her. Her mother should basically give up on her. And it was a very challenging experience for me because in my mind, I'm like, how do I keep one's culture? Okay, because that's important. We got to keep our culture, but also merge together Western beliefs of medications, of therapy, of mental health supports. And it was a very challenging case for me to go on because I left defeated because the parent, no, this is my culture. I am of African descent. You're not going to tell me how to raise my kid, and this is what it is. And so I left there very defeated. I connected with some of the people in the office to ask questions because I just did not know how I could help this child. And as I asked questions, I learned that there were other colleagues of mine that had had similar situations where the culture believes in the spiritual beliefs of your child is crazy, or they of witchcraft, or they have a curse. And then you have a child who just cannot advocate for themselves because they've been assimilated into Western practices. So I was so honored when Kenny asked me to come here and speak with you guys and to kind of moderate today's event because I'm a person that I am culturally agile. Teach me. I'm ignorant. I don't know. So I want you guys to tell me how I should handle parents when they come in with their belief system that's completely different from the system that I work in. So I thought it would be important that we further the conversation. Ola, are you okay with that? So we're going to continue to have the conversation even though we don't have any more speakers. And I would just like to know how can I better support your community? Because I'm all about being an ally. I'm all about mental health. I have a strong passion in mental health, and I do believe that people can recover if they have the right supports in place. And some of those supports mean us coming together and kind of embracing them for who they are. They're not intentionally trying to be crazy. They're not intentionally trying to want to kill themselves. Like what Uncle Sunday was talking about, I had it hit real close to home with a childhood friend of mine that was from the Liberian community. He hung himself The anniversary of his death was, I think, about at least 5 days ago. And so we dealt with that. I know him all the way from 3rd grade, and we missed it. We missed the signs, you know. It was just, oh, he okay. He just drinking because he's stressed out. And we just ignored it. But he was really hurting. There was really some underlying mental health issues that were going unnoticed to some and untreated. So this is our time. This is our opportunity for me to gain knowledge, and then I can disseminate that into the community. So thanks, and thank you, Ola, for allowing me this time as well. So we can just go ahead, Kenny.
Can you respond to that?
Yeah.
Because I want to respond directly to that because I have previous discussion with you on those issues. My name is Kenny Tanimojo. I've been working in the field for 1996. I don't know how long is that. I was opportune to work in Nigeria, a few places, Child Development Center in Surulere, University College Ibadan, when I did my social work, and I continued with that field when I came to the United States. I'm presently working with Kemisha in NP and Child Crisis, and we have a discussion about the issue of Kemisha responding to Africa Home. And immediately the mother heard that, oh, the child has a mental issue. The woman flip up. And to the area that Kemisha was really confused with the reaction. Like, okay, I came to your home to provide support, and this is what I get. So Kemisha called 2 of us that's African on the 2 or 3, me and
I talked to both of you guys,
yeah.
And then also Sama.
So Sama. So we started to provide that support for her. That when you go to African home, especially mother, you don't mention mental. When they have mental, that raises a red flag. He doesn't want to hear whatever I want to say after that. So what I will tell you is that when we're treating mental health issue, we need to start with a gentle approach. Gentle, like, oh, this child needs a little bit of support. Let's start from support, not mental. Because when they are mental, they are going to be defensive. So because of the social stigma that really surround mental health issue in Africa, all the labeling, the family shame, all those things are attached together. So people doesn't want to associate with that issue of mental health. And there is a continual denial, there is a continual historical evidence that, okay, probably will not support you having a mental health. Oh, it's stubborn. What he needs is flogging. You know, a lot of stuff. Oh, he needs just support. He needs prayer. You need to go fasting and prayer. All those things are what Africa will force them to before they come into accepting. So in this culture, when it comes to the United States, we face with a lot of pressure, and part of what a mother will not get on his back is, okay, my child has to be medicated, my child has to go to therapy. All those things will be the last thing an African woman will have. Let me stop there now for other people to be asked.
Yeah, my name is Femi Shaomi. I'm not prepared for this. I'm sure you saw that was just Anyway, I have a medical background, so I have little experience in what they're saying. Though I didn't specialize in mental health, I'm into O&G, but I've had little experiences with my patients, so I can say some few things. Now, I'm a little bit confused. Are we going to relate it to mental health in Africa or mental health in Africans here? Because it's a little bit different, the way they perceive mental health. In Africa, the little experience I had is that it's difficult to really diagnose a patient with mental health. Most of the time, when you try to explain to them, it's either they are high, mania, or manic, or down, depressed. So treating them is try to bring them to the middle. So it's always difficult to diagnose them. Getting here, most of these illnesses are diagnosed from childhood, which is mostly seen by probably in the school, because it's difficult for parents to see or to accept that their children is having a mental health problem. So most of these things are diagnosed from school, and it's easily accessible through their social interactions. That's the first way. So the moment they see a child not behaving exactly the way the other kids are behaving, then you can suspect something. In Africa, that is difficult. They'll probably say he's stubborn, needs to be beaten up or some other things, which at times it works. Am I right?
You are the product, so it works.
Yeah, so, but here they believe in treating them with medication, which also works. But I don't know the duration of that. So anyway, now diagnosing this in adulthood, before you can diagnose someone with mental health, there will be a bit of or more of antisocial behavior leading to either suicidal or being dangerous to your other fellows. So that is easier to diagnose for the adults here. So trying to tackle that, like what I said, most of the time is either on the higher side or on the lower side. So it's trying to bring them together. Now going to what my other colleagues are doing with their profession, which is very good. Their profession is able to catch these people earlier before they get outside, before they are dangerous to their other people, which I'm not really, I don't really have much experience in, but it's very good. So having this kind of, not a symposium, but having this kind of program should give us an enlightenment of how to deal with such things. When you have them come to your house, when they diagnose somebody close to you of having a mental health, have the awareness that it is possible and there is a treatment for it, which can be cured with time. So I think that's the little I can just give for now, so I don't go above board.
Well, I probably don't have a whole lot to add. The one thing I would say, however, again, go back to education. Really. The way we were brought out at home is really very different from the way things are done here. And so that transition is difficult. Just to give you even a simple example that is not even with the children. Say, for example, there is a problem between husband and wife. This time we're not even talking mental health. We're just talking stress, a little here and there. And somebody goes to the wife or to the husband and says, oh, you guys need to go for therapy. The wife would look at it like, are you crazy? What therapy? Maybe I can talk to my pastor, which is good, except I made a comment before that sometimes we need to do both. Because sometimes it's good to talk to the pastor, but sometimes the pastor is also relatively clueless when it comes to really some of the system of really helping families. The pastor will look at it from his own her own training. So I'm not discouraging that, but all I'm saying is, even without the mental health, just the system here is very different. So going back to the mental health thing, my sense is we need to keep looking for ways to educate ourselves. You know, the lady that talks about, this is a common knowledge in the literature. They will say, people in health, generally, the first generation of immigrants tend to be healthy. The second generation, the head goes up a little bit. By the time you get to the third, things will begin to look like the society in which they find themselves. By the time you get to the fourth generation, there's no difference between the people that are there 10 years, 100 years, they're all the same. So now that we are getting more of Africans here, and we are beginning to go to second generation, very soon we'll begin third generations. Unfortunately, we probably will see more of what the Americans are seeing in terms of mental health and health as a whole. So then what it means is we need to begin to train ourselves to know what to do. Thank you. So we need to begin to educate ourselves so that we are not at a disadvantage. Because if you have somebody like a social worker from wherever, and sure, hey, make good. But then for come to my house and I try to shop you up, I'm proud of being good too. I just don't understand why you need to tell me my kid have mental health. And in your own way, you are trying to help me. So both have good intention. But because of my understanding, as Emmanuel said, as a parent, it's hard for me to even accept that anybody would say my kid has mental problem. When you combine that two things together, it might be hard for me to accept you with whatever you want to do for me. So education is what I would say. Now we need to find ways through our churches, through our umune, through our Odua, through our mind, through Uganda associations, Sierra Leone organization, whatever we have out there, that we begin to find ways to bring this thing to forefront so that we can understand what's going on. Because unfortunately, as long as we're in this country, probably we'll see more of things like that.
Any questions or insight from the audience?
My question would be, well, I'm asking everybody, like, which name can we call, because people understand party. Well, if I say, okay, I want to celebrate birthday, but when they hear mental health, they will feel, oh, you're calling mad people, those that are crazy. So how can we convey this message to our people? How can we spread it? Because if we can't get ourselves together to talk about this stuff, we'll continue to suffer in silence. There are a lot of us that are suffering. So, do we have any suggestion on what to do next? Because next time we want to come up with something like this. We want it to be well accepted among our people. There are many people that said, oh, I will be there, but I don't understand it. A lot of people collected the IV and said, what is mental health? That's for the white people, So how do we convey this to our people?
You don't have to stand up.
Well, Africans have community here, and you have to go out to your community. In the beginning, it may be tough, but Francis, we is positive. Go to our churches, go to the mosque, flyers, talk to friends. Eventually, the trees doesn't have all the fruits. One day, it takes time. This is new. So eventually, in 2 years, in 3 years, 4 years time, it may not even be our generation that will enjoy this. But look at the long run effect of it. And when the time comes, your name will be out there. Rosa Park, standing up to the bus conductors. Now, every one of us can sing the bus. It takes courage, it takes a lot of time for us to do it. So I will encourage you to don't give up, keep preaching to the community, whoever you know that can help, keep talking to them. Eventually, it will work out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think that's very important that we have to remember that progress sometimes is slow. And I think he's spot on. When some of us may not see it in this lifetime, it may come to the generations after us. So that's a really, thank you. I appreciate that insight. Did anyone else want to say anything to him what he just said? We can keep going.
To contribute to what the other just said, I also think we need to speak our language. So when you said when the flyer reads mental health, just like you said, a lot of people will be thinking it has to do with someone that is mad, right? But there are other contributing factors to that title, mental health, and maybe like behavioral problem that's more friendly to people, especially to our community. So maybe we want to water it down to pull people in and then talk to them.
Thank you. Good. Also, good point. Thank you, sister. I appreciate that. I think that's really important because when I was out in the field and I was dealing with a couple of cases that I was on, I didn't know. So I kept saying mental health. And I did notice that the parent was getting more and more upset. I'm basically coming in, telling her about her child and saying that her child is mad or crazy or has a person. And in my mind, I was like, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. So I think semantics does play a big part in it. If we could find a better way to say that we're discussing mental health without saying mental health. So, some ideas, please.
Yeah, answering what my question my sister asked. Yeah, the word mental health is a little bit sensitive from our cultural background. So maybe next time we can use topics like health issue, which is a general one. So when you come out or when you come there, you pick whichever one suits your own side. Sometimes we treat mental people, we don't tell them to come for mental problems, we just say come for your medications. Like medical practice in Africa, most of the time we don't explain the medications we give to patients at times. We just tell you you are being treated, this is what you should use, this is how you should use it. You know, like compared to here that you have to explain everything. So next time you can just use the word health issue. I think that's general.
So my background is social work. I have a master's in social work, but I also have a master's in leadership and management. And I love research, so I'm kind of a geek in that way. But I went into the American Association of Suicidology, and it talks about the suicide rates amongst African Americans. And what I found very interesting, I could not find any research on just African suicide rates. So that shows you that there is probably not much research out there on the topic. And so anybody that's working on a dissertation, that could be a good research project. But the numbers that I have here, when we are talking about here in the United States, there was 2,500 African Americans that died by suicide in the U.S. And that made 80% was male. 481 were females. Another thing that I found that was very interesting is that 86.9% of the suicides were elderly African Americans. And then it even goes further to talk about how this number is disproportionate because we only make up a small percentage of the U.S., but our rates are at like 70%. So that's telling you that it's happening, but as always, as we know in the Black community, we don't talk about mental health and suicide. And so I wanted to just bring that up and ways that we can address that. One second.
I just want to quick correction. Fourth generation of Africans are Africans. Second generation of Africans are Americans.
Okay.
So that's probably why you don't see that names Africans research on this committee. I work in the hospital when they bring someone black to the hospital. It's all African Americans are doing it.
Yep. That makes sense. Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about that?
So,
Very scary.
so from what he just said, it means from generation to generation, we are losing the African part of us. He said the first generation of Africans will be called Africans. The next generation will be called African Americans, right? So that's very deep. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to be sure of your data, when you did your research, did you only focus on materials from the US or the Western world? Okay, maybe that would explain why you didn't get data for that research you were looking for. Because I
So
bet
how do I
it will be international,
Okay.
for sure. There will be data out there, it might not be dated, but I'm sure there will be something for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to say hi, introduce myself. My name is XP. I'm with the city. I'm here just to participate, to contribute whatever information I can from the city of Brooklyn Park. So if you have any time later you want to talk, we can definitely connect. But I've been listening to the conversation, and I wanted to throw a little bit something out there, So I don't want to come off as speaking to you. I want because I don't know a lot about your cultures and your backgrounds. And I'm home, so I'm Asian. I'm from a different race. I'm not African, or I don't have any African ancestry with me. But as a fellow, as somebody who's concerned and somebody who's witnessed some mental health issues in my community, the Hmong community, coming here, going through, dealing with a lot of trauma, suicides, that has really affected this community too. I was wondering, I just wanted to ask a question about the African immigrant community, and if there is if you guys see a connection between mental health issues, particularly when it comes to like gender roles, and in terms of like more male roles or female roles in your cultures, and how that affects how you're approaching the topic of mental health in your communities.
Thank you. So did everybody understand what the question is? He wants to know how gender roles pay effect into mental health.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because as we saw in the little research that I did have, males were predominantly more dying by suicide than the females were. 2000 was for the men, and it was only 405 or so for the women. So how does gender roles play into mental health?
In terms of research, I honestly don't have it, but I think in terms of the experiential experience, my experience is that part of why you have that big gap. You also see the same gap in health, even the one that is not even mental health. You look at the health statistics, women generally seem to fare better than men. And I think part of the reason is women, for the most part, tend to also take care of themselves than men. A very simple example of that, again, we go back to marriage. When I was still part of people doing therapy, generally it's the women that's trying to drag the husband or the boyfriend to the therapy. And the boyfriend or the husband is saying, oh, it's your problem. Just go deal with it. When you solve your problem, you can come back. In the meantime, the problem is both, or maybe even more so for the men. So, if you take that same concept to the concept of mental health issues, more than likely when there is a diagnosis or there is a perception that something is going on, I think women tend to be a little more, what is the word? Kind of accept to treat. So their acceptance of what's going on and their willingness to accept treatment is a little easier, it's small. Whereas a lot of the guys, it's like, nothing's wrong with me, you can't take me to this thing, I'm not going to take this medication, just like I'm going to toughen it out. Then something go wrong, you commit suicide or whatever the case may be. So that's just for the experience. Having been part of this for good 30 years in mental health issues, both in American world and probably more so in the African world, men tend to be kind of martial men, where women tend to be a little more receptive to treatment. So that's my experience.
Okay, to support what Uncle just said, I will take it back to depression. When you look at the issue of depression, most cases with suicide ideation, suicide attempts is from depression. When you're depressed, when you get to that part of the start thinking about suicide thoughts, then running out of those thoughts. And when you're talking about depression, one thing that continuously works for depression to remove depression is ability for you to communicate, to vent whatever is going on, to relate to increase social engagement and interactions, which therapy provides. And in those ways that therapy provides, the same way that women tends to more open in terms of discussing their problem, talking to friends, compared to male counterpart. In African concept, man, like Uncle said, we want to top it up, he doesn't want to discuss those issues. I'm a man, I'm supposed to handle it. I don't need to talk to anybody about it. So when you compare the way men react to issues, like sense of relief, and they regain their functionality, their mental health becomes stabilized, compared to men counterpart that want to talk it out, I don't need to talk to anybody about it. Then it keep on deepening in those emotional dysregulation until when it gets to a stage where it cannot bear it no longer and it leads to suicidation or suicide attempt. I think that is why the way we men react to situation, the way we take care of situation is different from the way women does. And when women do those things, they tend to receive more support and they tend to have lower rate of suicidalization or suicide.
Let me just add a few things from the question asked. Now, why do we have more males having this problem than females? But there are four things that we think of. Number one, males are more prone to risk taking, they are more adventurous, they are more egoistic, and they are more likely to use substance abuse than the females. So that is why they are more exposed to all these mental illness.
I just want to add to the good suggestions you made. Another thing I think is that in our culture, we believe that men are supposed to be tough, and men are not supposed to cry or to express or to show any sign of fear. So majorly our culture is playing into this stuff. Although back home, that's my work. Back home because there is community. But when we get here, we try to merge the dominant culture with our culture, and at times it doesn't really help. Let's take for example the role conflict in homes. Here in America, and a lot of emphasis is laid on the women, and this. Okay, like let me give this example. When I came back to my last child at the hospital, it was the nurse that called my husband. Let me teach you how to carry the car seat. There's a name they give, baby car seat. There's a name given to it. But back in our culture, that's not what we do. Men don't do all those things. And a lot of things. Here you expect, okay, and I'm at work, my husband is at home babysitting. We don't have that culture. So when we get here, we try to adjust. Our men are really doing well. They are really awesome. My husband is awesome. Our men are really doing great job because this culture is not really, it's like you sleeping on a bed that is not really comfortable, but you are trying to make it comfortable. That's and that's messed with the mental health of our men. They might not acknowledge it, that it's actually playing into their mental health, but it is actually playing into their mental health stuff. And in the United States, you can't shout at your wife, but then there are stressors here that will make you, fly out, even beat a woman. There are stressors. But when we come to the United States, we don't have this type of education, and that really affects our people. And that's why we really need a thing like this. And I encourage a lot of people to come up with more stuff like this so that our people can be educated. Now, okay, it's not as if, and it's okay to discuss what's going on with you. You are feeling hunger, there are stress here, there are anxieties here that we don't face back at home. if the landlord asks you to move out of the house in Africa, your brother or your sister might say, oh, come and live here for some months, you know. You don't get that here. If you can't pay your bills and your house bill in Africa, you can go and kneel down for the landlord. And the landlord will say, okay. You know, but not here. You can't kneel down for anybody. You know, and if, like, in Africa, if you are cooking and you don't have salt, or you don't even have food to give your kids, you can say, okay, let's go and play at my neighbor's house. And when you get there, your neighbor, the first thing, that's our culture, is for them to have what we will eat. You know, but in this culture, who do you want to call that? Okay, me and my children are coming, we want to come and play with you, just because we want to eat. You know, a lot of anxiety here, and we need to come together to be able to manage it. There are anxieties here that is messing with our mental health, and that is why most of us get stuck at a point. You know, we are looking for these dollars, but if we don't have self-care, we might not really get it as much as we want. Thank you.
Okay, in the respect of time, I think I would like to wrap things up. Thank you guys so much. Last minute before I wrap up. Okay.
Antiola just opened the can of work, which I don't really want to go, but I will say something a little bit to that. The emotional trauma that we men are going through in America is real. And I really thank you for exposing that and discussing that right now. Because there's a lot of things that we're doing right now in America that when you get home and tell your friend that this is what I'm doing for my wife in America, are you crazy? So like and for people that can express it that I don't want to do it or manage it effectively, that is good. But there are some people that are really continuously managing it. And they are really suffering in silence. And it got to a point that they cannot take it no more. And it leads from emotional trauma to suicide ideation to suicide attempt. Thank you.
Any last minute insight, question, concerns before we wrap it up and go on to the next thing? If you guys can give my panelists a round of applause for participating. Thank you.